Police in Bahrain have detained the head of the country's Center for Human Rights without explanation. Nabeel Rajab, known for his firm opposition to the ruling regime, was arrested days before an interview with the world's top whistleblower, Julian Assange, is due to air on RT. The civil rights leader was already facing charges of participating in protests against the government and was returning to Bahrain for a Sunday court hearing. The uprising has been ongoing for 14 months now, with the predominantly Shi'ite population protesting against the Sunni ruling dynasty. More insight now live from Omar Nashabi, political analyst and senior columnist at the Al Akhbar newspaper in the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Now, Nabeel Rajab is seen as a key figure of the Bahrain opposition. What do you think now awaits for him and his movement? Omar, can you hear me?
First, let's say that Nabeel Rajab has not committed any crime. He was arrested, and this arrest can be seen as an arbitrary arrest. I mean, can you hear me?
Yes, that's all right, Omar. You can keep going.
Hello?
Yes, Omar, we have a slight delay, but if you could go on.
So I was saying that Nabeel Rajab has not committed any crime. Nabeel Rajab was arrested at the airport, and as he left Beirut, and the minute he arrived to the airport in Bahrain, he was arrested by the authorities. This arrest can be considered as arbitrary because the man has not committed any crime whatsoever. He's a human rights activist. He's been the protests in Bahrain have been peaceful protests. They have not resorted to any weapons. They have not resorted to any violence. The attitude of the government in Bahrain and of the king has been oppressive. Has been also it wasn't truthful because the Mr. Rajab himself had actually called for a kind of a democratic solution to the problem, whereas this wasn't this. Excuse me, hello.
Yes, we still have you. Now, I want to ask you about the International Federation for Human Rights, where Rajab is Deputy Secretary General. They have condemned his detention. Do you expect some wide international resonance?
Well, wide international resonance, I think it's problematic because there have been a lot of pressure from the Western countries on the United Nations, on international organizations, in order not to actually react in a way that would actually consider what's happening in Bahrain a democratic movement. In Bahrain, the Bahrainis are asking for equal rights, and they're asking for a proper democracy. They are not a group of Shiites, as they have been portrayed, a minority group that is asking for, that has some demands that are sectarian demands. These are Bahrainis. They are holding up the Bahraini flag and no other sign or symbol. They are asking for democracy, and the world is not responding to their demands, and the world is not reacting the same way it's reacting to other rebellion in other places in the Arab world, where these rebellions are armed sometimes, and so therefore there is a clear double standards when it comes to Bahrain. Perhaps because Bahrain is a kingdom in the Gulf, and therefore there is a fear that if these people will get their rights, and then it is a possibility that the kingdom will collapse, and it will be the beginning of the collapse of other kingdoms and emirates in the Gulf. And that's very sensitive for the world, because the Gulf, as we know, is in a part of the world that is rich in natural resources, and more specifically with the petrol and gas. And therefore, this is the delicate situation. These people are being deprived of their basic rights for a democratic system in their country. The Saudi army has been called in. There are 2 American bases in Bahrain, and I think that also gives the king more power to, or more incentives to crush the peaceful demonstrators with violence.
All right. Now, I do want to, unfortunately, we do have a little bit of a delay, but I want to very briefly ask you about the fact that mainstream media has not really touched Bahrain too much, where unrest has only made the news recently with the staging of the Formula One motor race Grand Prix there. Why is there such a difference in media approach to Bahrain compared to other Arab uprisings, such as in Egypt, Libya, and Syria?
Well, I think we both know, and many of the viewers probably know, that there are some international forces that control media. And media is controlled by the same international media is predominantly controlled by the same forces that support the Western influence that is sometimes not really supporting any democratic movement or not truthful towards human rights and democracy. I mean, if one wants to be truthful to democratic, basic democratic principles, one would look closer at Bahrain, as this movement has been going on for a year now almost, and these are basic demands, and the Bahrainis have not, and I repeat, and this is very important, they have not taken up weapons, they have not used any violent aggressions against the government. Their demands were not for the removal of the king. When their demands started, when this revolution started, it wasn't for the removal of the king. It was for basic equal rights between all Bahrainis. And you can see in the pictures there on your screen that all the symbols they're carrying are just the Bahraini flag. They are citizens who want to have the same rights as any Western citizen has in their country, and they are being deprived of that basic right, and they're not even receiving the proper media coverage in international media networks.
All right. Omar Nashabi, political analyst and senior columnist at the Al Akhbar newspaper, thank you.